Check, check. 1, 2. 1, 2. Coming through. Testing a few things old. And a few, a few things new. The number of three-legged cats around this village is incredible. What would cause a cat to have only 3 legs? Or a number of cats to have only 3 legs? What the hell would cause that to happen? I'm just saying that because a cat ran across the road in front of me. Well, it didn't really run because it's only got 3 legs. It kind of hopped and hobbled across the road. So what would cause that to happen? I mean, a fight with a bigger animal? And then you'd think there would be more fights with even bigger animals, no? You would. And then if they can only go so fast, because they've only got 3, why wouldn't the other animal finish the animal off? Why wouldn't they finish the cats off? Why would they leave them with only 3 legs? And if they were only 3 legs because they were running away from something, surely they won't be able to run away anymore, so they get caught more. So they just, I don't know. That's just weird. That's just weird. But I've noticed a number of cats. Maybe it's some kind of trend or fashion. It's kind of sad. You look at a cat, it's only got 3 legs. Oh well. What would do that to a cat? A dog, probably. So people love their dogs, but they don't think twice about when their dogs try to eat cats for lunch. Or any other animal for that reason or that matter. Yeah, I thought putting my phone on that special stand would mean it would be easier to record, but as the car bounces down the road, the phone is bouncing up and down as well. It's definitely not a good thing. See if I can do something about this. Probably shouldn't be doing this, but anyway. See if I can move it a little bit. Ah, crash. We will see. I'm a bit worried about this phone now because connector keeps falling out of it. How do they get everything else to work? I mean, technology, all the stuff I get seems to fall apart, and it's not because it's the cheap stuff. I don't buy the cheap stuff. 9 times out of 10 I don't buy the cheap stuff. Okay, every now and then I do, and I always regret it, so I now buy more expensive stuff because I'm not rich enough to buy the cheapest stuff. If you understand. So yeah, how does that work? How does that work with you know, the space station? Is that, what's that, held together with extra strong tape, or how does that work? How does that work with nuclear power stations? I mean, aren't they run on computers, and computers just kind of crash all the time? And aren't they old? I mean, aren't the nuclear power stations running on technology which is 30, 40, 50 years old? Could you imagine using a telephone that was 30, 40, 50 years old? You wouldn't want to, would you? I secretly tend to think that these power stations have many more problems than they tell us about, and that the nuclear industry is incredibly secretive about them. In fact, the only problem that they weren't secretive about was Chernobyl. That's because the Russian government released information relatively quickly. It took 30 years for the American government to release information about Californian nuclear disaster. We'll just let people live in it. What they don't know won't hurt them. Scary stuff. Scary stuff. And then we have the incredible insanity of building nuclear power stations at the bottom of volcanoes and fault zones where they have earthquakes. Doesn't seem very wise to me. Yes, but how else would we? I don't know, solar power? Hydroelectric? Doesn't seem to be that difficult. Coal's pretty clean now. Most of the waste can be recycled. It's not like nuclear where they just send it to some African state that no one has ever heard of and can't even find. Oh well. Oh well. Yeah, just keep your head down. Try not to make too many ripples in the water. Don't worry, someone else will take care of it. If we didn't provide problems for the future generations, what would they do? A Machiavellian attitude perpetually screws the children of future generations. Stop thinking about how much you can take and start thinking about what you can give. What if in ancient history we discovered nuclear power? We had discovered nuclear power. What if we proliferated it across the globe? And what if there was a giant catastrophe, some solar flare knocking out the electric on Earth, or some asteroid passing too close, and everything went boom? What if? You know, there's some pretty odd evidence to suggest that these things are actually possible. We've got the desertification of certain areas where nothing grows, and odd compound elements in the sand. We've got the ancient walls of buildings thousands and thousands of years old that appear to have melted at some point. That could just be weathering over age. Check this out. I'm not making this stuff up. You can find it. Put the pieces of the puzzle together. Start with I think it's Forbidden Worlds by Max Egan. He touches on some of the mysteries. And they are mysteries. We don't really know. There was something else. Yeah, there's the there's somewhere in Africa they were excavating uranium, and they discovered that it appears as if somebody else had previously been excavating the uranium there, but they'd have to go back tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of years, according to what they found. It's not wild, it's beyond wild. And then we have the revolutionary nature of the cycle of human existence, which is the fact that we tend to live in cyclical phases. So the principle of that is that there's nothing new under the sun. Do you know how many times do they build roads and they find old roads that they lost previously? How many times do they go to build new buildings and find old buildings that they lost previously? I'm thinking about in Britain with building new roads, they always find these old Roman roads, or when they were rebuilding the city of York, they found buildings from Jorvik, the Viking capital that was there previously. So the foundations of our earthly society lie under our feet somewhere. How many walls that were once built have now been lost and forgotten? Oh, what's that Asian, is it Asian? Is that an Angkor Wat? Where's that? I'm not quite sure. Which country is that? Is that Thailand? Somewhere else? Somewhere out there. And then they did these laser surveys of the landscape around the temples and discovered that there appear to be roads and buildings dating back maybe, well, at least tens of thousands of years, maybe even longer, and that the size and scale of the city was the equivalent to what would be New York today. I don't think about New York, you know. There was Old York and then New York, which was once New Amsterdam, but there you go. It's all in the words and the language. Amsterdam, all the dams. Wall Street. I was thinking New York Wall Street because there was a big wall there. One of my students the other day was, I want to say clients and not students. Don't like the word students. Student suggests a kind of one-way process of learning, like teacher-student. I think client has more of an open road. It's more two-way there. So I definitely prefer to say client. So one of my clients was talking about the quest for meanings. And this is a powerful conversation because are you ready for this? This is not in any way a traditional way of looking at things. So okay, let's travel extra slow. Why are you doing that? Okay. If we realize that there's more in the invisible world than the visible world, there's more that we can't see, that we don't know, than what we can see and what we do know, then the only way that we can be objective is to step outside of the physical realm. Now, language is a physical construct, and so we find a lot of people who are very often trying to answer questions outside of the physical realm. But the questions that exist outside of the physical realm must have a different construct. The language in that world must have a different construct from the language that we know and we use as a physical language. So we're pretty much screwed in terms of how are we going to get to understand the non-physical realm, because we can't use any of our contemporary methods of thinking. We can't use any of them. Because bang, 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 that's me trying to keep the sun out of my eyes. End up bumping and knocking everything. Anyway, yeah, we're sort of stuck in this physical locale, and this idea that anything could be constructed in the non-physical, the same world, the same way that we construct it in the physical world. This is just a kind of mistake. You know, it's sort of like saying, well, the car is kind of like a horse. Yeah, they can both be used to transport things, but entirely different. So we didn't get very far because the client was searching for questions and I was pointing out that you can't. You can just exist and be, but you can't search for a question, because if you construct a question, it'll be in a physical sense. And the non-physical will require something completely different. Perhaps some kind of instantaneous, automatic transferal of idea or concept. You know, the way that we use our intuition. So we live in a world of curiosity and wonder. And we need to be curious. Because through our curious nature, we can discover so many things that are wonderful. So many things. A universe, a multiverse of things. All weaving and woven together. Right. I have to go and acquire some more things. That's how it goes. Something for you to drink through the thoughts that you think. Blue sky, lovely. Speak to you later.